Hi everybody, today's video is super special to me. We're going to be making vegan kimchi, which I'm so excited about. And the reason that you want to make vegan kimchi is because most kimchi that you go to buy at a store actually isn't vegan if you take a look at the ingredients. Traditional Korean kimchi includes fish sauce, sometimes fermented shrimp paste, or even squid sometimes. So I want to show you guys how to make a vegan version, which I think tastes just as good, if not better. And you can make it yourself at home, really cheap, but you can also buy some vegan kimchi as well. There's some brands that are out there if you look close enough. Usually the natural health food stores will have them, but I think it's so fun to make, and I think you can make a lot of it for cheap, and it's just really fun. So I wanted to show you guys how I do it. I've got some ingredients laid out here that I'm going to show you in greater detail in just a second. But yeah, this is one of my favorite foods on the planet. Kimchi is so good for you because it's full of beneficial bacteria, because this is a fermented food. So it's going to have loads of probiotics that are going to be beneficial for your digestive system, for your gut, for your immune health, and it just tastes so good. So this is going to be the traditional Korean red kimchi recipe. But you also can turn this into white kimchi, which is another variety, if you just skip adding the red pepper powder, which you're going to see later on in this video. So without further ado, let's make some kimchi. To make vegan kimchi, here are some of the things that you're going to need. Some of these things are optional, but I'll let you know what those are when we get to them. So you want to get a really good cabbage. Traditionally you use napa cabbage, which is what this is here. You just want to look for it to be like super healthy and green. Sometimes they're yellow also, which is fine, but no brown spots or bruises. And you can also use green cabbage. You can also use, what else is out there? I've used Savoy cabbage before, but basically just get yourself a really nice head of cabbage. And you also want to have some kind of radish. So most people have probably never seen one of these before. This is a Korean radish called mu, M-U. And you can also replace this, if you can't find this, with daikon radish, which looks like this. Or you can also use a turnip, which looks like this. And in either scenario, you're just going to want to peel it first. I'm probably going to use maybe like 2/3 of this one, because I want to use the other part of it for a different recipe. You want to get a nice big carrot, a bundle of scallions, a bulb of garlic, which you're going to take all the cloves out of, a piece of ginger. Usually I like to say just a little bit less ginger than you will use garlic, so I'm going to maybe play with that size still, but I think that'll be a good amount. You also want to have an apple, a sweet onion, and we're going to be using, this is just salt I have here in this bag, but you're going to be using any kind of sea salt. They usually say coarse is better. I think this is more of a fine salt, but it'll do the job. And then you want to have some kind of sweetener, just a little bit. I'm using raw turbinado cane sugar. You can use coconut sugar, or basically whatever kind of sugar that you want to, that you agree with, or that feels right for you. And this is kind of the star of the dish. This is called gochugaru, which is Korean red pepper powder. And this is what makes kimchi. And there's really no substitute for this when you're making kimchi. You can find these on Amazon. Any Asian market usually has them. And usually I think you use the flakes for this one. I think I have to find, yeah I do. But either way, this is what gives it the kimchi flavor and the spiciness, and it's not the same as using like the regular red pepper chili flakes that you find at most grocery stores. It's completely different from that. So make sure you get some of that. And also, this is an optional thing, but you don't have to have this. It's like a sweet rice flour, or any kind of rice flour. And we're going to be using this to make kind of a paste that we're going to incorporate into the kimchi to make everything kind of stick to it better. And what we're going to do first is we're going to chop up this cabbage into bite-sized pieces, put it in a huge bowl, and then we're going to salt it. Okay, so what we're going to do, guys, we're going to take our cabbage and we're going to cut it in half. I want to show them how we're doing that. We're just going to basically, you cut it like halfway down towards where the core, I guess you could say, is. And this is like the best part when you're cutting up cabbage. Like, this is so amazing. When you take the two halves, pull it apart, there's just like some kind of satisfying feeling when you're like ripping the cabbage in half. It's just like, oh, it feels so good. I don't know why. But what you're gonna do is you're just gonna cut this into quarters now, the same exact way. So you just cut it halfway, and let's rip it apart. And then we're just gonna work with these two first because I don't have a whole lot of room here on this cutting board. So we're just gonna separate these for now. And basically what you're gonna do at this point is you're just gonna cut everything into bite-sized pieces. But before you do, you just wanna kind of cut this little knob off, which is the core, because that'll be like a really, really hard part and you don't wanna bite into that. So what you're gonna do now is you're just gonna basically cut this down the middle all the way. And as you're cutting your kimchi, or AKA the cabbage, you're gonna cut it into the kind of bite-sized pieces that you want specifically. So I'm just gonna show you what I do, but you can kind of cut it anyway. I'm gonna cut it about right here. And as you're cutting up your cabbage, you wanna put it into a bowl of water right over here. And then that way it's gonna kind of keep it from wilting, but it's also important to soak the cabbage just for a short time after you cut it. That's gonna help the salt stick to it better when we go to salt it afterwards. And sometimes I like to keep the leafy parts a little bit longer. So yeah, you're gonna do this for the rest of the pieces of your cabbage, and then I'll show you what to do next right after. Is I went ahead and just drained the water off, but I had made sure that all of the cabbage was soaked in the water first before I drained it. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna salt it. So I took some of this over here, which was the bag of sea salt. I don't actually know how much I use. I just kind of take little pinches at a time and go. So I would say at this point, just kind of intuitively feel out how much salt that your cabbage wants, I guess. But you can't really put too much on because we do rinse it off at the end. But what we're gonna do is we're just gonna be sprinkling on the salt and just gently turning it over and massaging it into the cabbage. And essentially what we're gonna do is we're gonna let the salt kind of do its thing and draw the water out of the cabbage. And it's gonna take about 1.5 to 2 hours total. And then about maybe every 30 minutes or so, you're just gonna wanna check on it and just turn it over. I'm gonna put in some more. I might actually use the full amount that I have here, which is probably just a couple tablespoons full. And just make sure you're really turning it over and getting the cabbage that's kind of stuck at the bottom, and you know, just make sure everything gets love. And at this point, you can just infuse the cabbage with some really positive intentions, like, I love you, you're amazing. I can't wait to see what kind of probiotics and bacteria form. You can invite like really friendly cultures into the cabbage, you know, and just really appreciate it for what it is and what it's gonna do for you. And I think that just really adds to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish salting this. And then after we salt it, we're just gonna, like I said, let this sit for about 1.5 hours. That's what I usually do, but if you go longer, it's not a problem. Yeah, I'm just gonna finish the rest of this salt actually. And then, while this is salting, I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how to prepare the rice porridge. One of the optional things that you don't have to do, because this makes it technically not fully raw kimchi. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to be taking some of this Mochiko sweet rice flour. I actually love the brand name of this. It reminds me of one of my great friends I met at the CP training, Machiko. But we're going to take this sweet rice flour and we're going to make a porridge out of it. So to do that, you're going to go ahead and put in a pot or a pan 1 cup of water. And basically this porridge that we're making is just going to make a kind of a sticky paste that the kimchi stuff will stick to the cabbage better with it. So this is the little tablespoon scoop. So I want to take about 2 tablespoons of sweet rice flour and mix that in there. That looks right. And then just kind of mix it in just a little bit. And what you're going to do is you're going to heat this over medium heat, and you're just going to kind of be very attentive to it and stir it until it becomes kind of thick and porridge-like. So I'm going to go ahead and set this on the heat, and then I'll show you what it looks like as it cooks. So this didn't take very long. It just kind of thickened right up, maybe within like 2 minutes of me heating it up. This is kind of what you're looking for, this like really thick porridgey stuff. And once it gets to this consistency, you're just going to turn it off the heat and let it cool down, because you want it to get to be a cool temperature before you work with it. And if you happen to make this a little bit, I guess like too close to when you're actually putting the kimchi together, then you can just kind of soak this pot in maybe some ice water and cool it down. So we're going to let this sit aside for now. So our cabbage has about 1/2 hour left of being salted, so we're going to cut up some of the vegetables ahead of time. And I've got the radish, which I already peeled. we're going to be doing green onion as well as a carrot. I just wanted to show you guys what I do for the carrot. Instead of actually like just chopping it up, I use a vegetable peeler, and it's already been peeled the first time. So now you're going to use a peeler on the rest of the carrot. And you're literally just going to do this for like the first half, just for the size. And just kind of go all the way down. This way you're going to have really thin pieces of carrot so that they ferment with the kimchi better. And then you're also not getting this like super hard piece of carrot with every bite of kimchi that you're eating. So you're just going to take these and you're going to put them into your bowl. And you're just going to chop up the radish as well as the green onions in any way that you want to, and then just set these vegetables aside. So here's an update on our cabbage. As you can tell, it's like condensed down so much. So this is ready. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna rinse this cabbage at least twice, just to kind of rinse off any salt and get rid of any water that's probably been forming in here as a result of the salt. So we're gonna do about 2 rinses on this and then drain it. And these are just our vegetables that are all chopped up that we're gonna continue to leave on the side. So we're gonna rinse this out and then be right back. All right, you guys, so now it's time to work on the kimchi sauce. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a blender, you're gonna add in the garlic. This is all the cloves that came in that bulb that I showed you earlier. And it's the same amount of ginger that I used. You wanna have just a little bit less ginger than you do garlic because you don't want this to overpower. Throw that in. We've got half of the red apple. You wanna go with any kind of sweet apple. I think this is organic Fuji. And then this is 1/3 of the onion that I showed you guys from earlier. And then what you're gonna do to that is you're gonna blend all this up and you're gonna add in just a regular little spoonful of the raw turbinado cane sugar, or whatever sugar that you chose. Throw that in there. And then just blend it up until it's smooth. Alright, so this is what the sauce looks like when it's all blended up. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add it to our rice porridge, which I already put from the pot into this bowl here. So you can go ahead and just pour your apple, onion, garlic, ginger stuff into here. Just get as much of it out as you can. And just mix that together. And at this point, if you were just going to be making white kimchi, this is where you would basically stop with the sauce. But we are going to add the Korean red pepper flakes into this mix as well. So just kind of mix that until it's incorporated. And then you're going to take your Korean red pepper flakes. Now this is going to be highly up to you as to how much you use, because it depends on how spicy that you like stuff. I would say measure about 1/3 cup for the average kimchi in this particular size batch. I'm going to probably opt for a little bit more than that. I'm just going to go and pour quite a bit of that in. Maybe even just a tiny bit more. And mix that up. And you're going to see this brilliant, beautiful, vibrant red color that you are accustomed to seeing when it comes to kimchi. And it also might be normal that your eyes are starting to burn just slightly, because when you blend onions up, it just kind of becomes super really strong. So I'm just gonna blend the rest of this up really nicely. Just make sure you incorporate everything. And as soon as I have this blended, I'm gonna be putting the vegetables in, and I'll show you that part in just a second. Alright, so this is the finished paste. We're going to be putting in our veggies here. And get this all in there. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to basically fold all of this into the paste. Once we do that, then we're going to be adding the paste into our cabbage, but we're going to be mixing it with our hands. And since it's something that's really spicy, you might want to find something to protect your hands, like a glove or a plastic bag or anything that you think that would be good to protect your hands from the spiciness. So I'm going to go ahead and just fold this in and then show you adding it to the cabbage. So I've got my little bag on just to protect my hands while we mix this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this down here, which is our vegetable mixture with the paste, and we're going to add that into the bowl here that has all the cabbage in it. So we're just going to mix that in. So good already, you guys. Alright, cool. So we're gonna do that. And what we're gonna do real quickly is I'm just gonna grab a little bit more salt to sprinkle on top, and then we'll be right back. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna be mixing this by hand. So we're just gonna literally be very gentle though, because you don't want to like bruise the cabbage, but we're just gonna be massaging it in. It's kind of like this. Just kind of grabbing it and making sure that we evenly distribute all of the kimchi paste through the cabbage. I'm just gonna be turning it and turning it just until we feel that everything is well combined. And then what we're gonna end up doing after this is finished. Oh, by the way, too, I forgot to tell you, in between cuts, we put about, I would say, maybe 1 more teaspoon of salt on top here, just because we rinsed so much of it out when we rinsed the cabbage. And also, we're making this vegan, and usually fish sauce is super salty. So we're kind of making up for not using fish sauce by adding just a little bit more salt right as we're mixing it. And the salt will actually continue to draw out just a little bit more of the juice of the cabbage and the vegetables. So it's going to make for really, really tasty kimchi juice in your jars as it's fermenting. So as we mix this, just going to make sure that we're massaging it in. And it's looking absolutely incredible. So what I'm going to show you guys next is how I pack the jars. We're going to be using these right here, potentially maybe more. I'm not sure how much it's going to fill. These are 24-ounce jars over here. And then I'm going to show you how you ferment them. So it is time to pack the jars. And just keep in mind, there's really no like clean way to do this. It's going to get a little bit messy. But basically you're just going to do your very best to pack these. And with every couple handfuls that you put in, what you want to do is you want to make sure it's completely packed in the jar. So you're just going to kind of go in here, just kind of fill in all the space and push it down. So that way every part of the kimchi is going to be covered in this juice that's coming up here. So you really want to make sure that we're packing it tight. Because that way we're not going to have any like air or like air bubbles, I guess, where things that we don't want to grow on the kimchi can grow, like mold and bad bacteria. So by pushing it all into place and keeping it super tight, we're kind of ensuring that that won't happen, that it ferments beautifully and evenly. So I'm going to continue to pack this jar. Oh guys, it smells so good. And what we're going to do, once these are all packed up, is we're going to put the lids on very, very loosely, and we're going to let them ferment at room temperature with like a light towel covering them so that it's dark for about 3 days before it's going to be ready. So I'm just going to set this down here as I'm packing it. I just want to pack these pretty close, like kind of like right where this rim is you want to stop, because you want to allow some room for the cabbage to expand and for kind of like for the air and bacteria gases to kind of make their way out as it ferments. So it's probably going to look a little something like this at the top if you want to show them the top of the jar. I might put just a tiny, tiny bit more on top here. But essentially this is what your jars are going to look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill up the rest of the jars, and then I'll show you guys how I store it. Welcome back everyone. We've got all of our kimchi in the jars. So we've got 4 20-ounce jars here. I'm sorry, 24-ounce jars. So that's going to make, what, 96 ounces, which is awesome, because usually you can buy vegan kimchi only in like 8-ounce little jars for like $8.99 each, and this is so much more cost effective. And you'll notice I put the tops on backwards so that you kind of see the white part on top instead of the metallic. The reason I did that is that it's not going to be a complete fit, because you don't want these to be closed all the way. So that way they're going to be a little bit loose so that the gases can be released from the jars. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pack them into a box here that I've lined with a towel, just in case sometimes like the juice might come out and overflow a little bit. It has somewhere to land. So I'm going to go ahead and put all of these in here. Alright, cool. So what we're going to do is we're just going to close up the box. And I have a little something special to put on top here. So I have a little note just to infuse our kimchi with some love. If you guys haven't seen the water video by Spirit Science, I highly recommend it. It'll make so much sense as to why I'm doing this if you've seen that video. So I'm just going to put a little piece of organite crystal on top just to keep it protected and only invite good energies into the kimchi. And what we're going to do is we're going to let this ferment for about 3 to 4 days, and then put it all in the refrigerator to stop the fermentation process. And that, my friends, is how you make kimchi. I hope you guys enjoyed making kimchi with me. I hope you get to make your own. And if you do, let me know how it was below. This is my secret recipe, even though it's, you know, kind of standard for kimchi, but this is how I do it. And I've made a lot of different kinds of kimchi, and this is just my favorite way to make it that tastes the best to me. I think it's delicious. So definitely give it a try and let me know how it goes for you. And also, if you have a lot of kimchi on hand, after you've had it for a while, the more it ferments, the more sour it gets. So you can make different recipes with sour kimchi, and one that I've made so far on my channel is kimchi stew. So I'll leave a link down below for that. But thanks for sticking in here with me while we made kimchi together, and I hope you enjoyed the recipe, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.